All right, good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. Hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Alan. Happy to be your host today. Currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer here at ICE and a lead faculty member in our Fitness Athlete Division. It is Leadership Thursday. We talk all things small business ownership, clinic management, and it is also Gut Check Thursday. This week's Gut Check Thursday, 5 rounds, 21 sit-ups, 15 air squats, 9 burpees every 2 minutes, but not zero. Stop and run 200 meters. So you're trying to get as far into that as you can in that first free 2 minutes. Get as much of that body weight done as you can, and then that run penalty starts to set in, which is going to reduce your round times to about a minute, which is really going to compress how much time you can finish working through the rest of that 5 rounds for time. So great workout. I would suggest getting up early if you're anywhere near the Midwest or the Eastern Seaboard, so you beat those 100-degree temps. But a great workout to do outside, great workout to do maybe if you're camping with the family or up at the cabin or something like that. So have fun with Gut Check Thursday. Some courses coming your way this weekend. You can still jump into Pregnancy and Postpartum Live down in Atlanta with Christine and Alexis, or Lumbar Spine Management up in Braintree, Massachusetts. That'll be Jeff Moore teaching that course for lumbar spine management. And then next weekend, we have a couple of courses. We have Extremity Management in Oklahoma City with Mark Gallant. We have Cervical Spine Management in Asheville, North Carolina with Zach Morgan. And we have Total Spine Thrust up in Victor, New York, right outside of Rochester with Justin Dunaway. So those are live courses coming your way. Then we'll have July 4th weekend off. And then we really start to get busy. If you're looking to join us on the road, I recommend sooner rather than later. We have a lot of busy weekends coming up with courses that are full or almost full. So make sure you check us out. We're getting ready to launch our new website soon. So it'll be much easier to find courses and a lot more free resources coming your way as well on our new website. They're going to be launching in the next couple weeks. All right, excuse me. Let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is going to build on last week's episode. So if you did not watch that, you're going to be very lost today. If you watched that, but maybe you didn't pay attention too well, you might want to go back and watch that one to refresh your memory because we're going to build on those topics today. So we're talking about getting paid. This week, we're talking about how to argue for better pay for yourself as a therapist. Last week, we talked about how to get paid, how the clinic gets paid, especially for those of you billing insurance who may not have known how billing insurance actually works. So we talked last week, clinics either get paid with cash, that's the easier logistic way, or insurance. And really what we got down to is finding your average reimbursement amount by understanding how insurance billing works, how collection works, and at the end of the day, arriving at how much money are we actually making from each insurance company, and coming to the conclusion of, across all of the insurances that we accept, what is our average pay per visit? If you're taking cash, this is obviously a lot easier to calculate, but arriving at that number, that's really going to guide a lot of stuff, equipment we can afford, our ability to stay in business, to pay the bills, but most importantly, to us on the therapist side, the staff clinician side, how much is available to actually pay us for our work. So the other part of this equation, we had this nice whiteboard discussion last week in arriving at what is our average pay per visit. The other half of that equation is sitting down and crunching expenses and understanding how much each thing that you pay for at the clinic is going to cost you on a per hour or per visit basis. So taking what you pay for your EMR, taking what you pay for your rent, what you pay for the power bill, what you pay for your internet connection, taking all of that and crunching that across about a 250-day year. If we take weekends out and we take most major holidays out, a PT clinic is open about 250 days per year. Taking all of those expenses and crunching, what does it cost per hour for that expense? So for example, our EMR and billing software is about $900 a month. That's about $10,800 a year. If we use that 250-day analogy, and then we also look at an 8-hour workday, that EMR costs us about $5.50 per hour. So when you start to add those expenses up, you get an idea of how much am I paying expenses, and that really helps guide what you can then pay beyond that. If you know it costs $33, it costs $48 an hour to keep the lights on, to keep the clinic open, and we get paid whatever per hour from insurance, or if you're taking cash, whatever your cash rate is, you really start to get an idea of where is the margin, where is the wiggle room, how much of that gap between what we pay per hour and what we receive per hour is available for things like purchasing new equipment, for expanding the clinic, for giving people raises, and what you can set your pay rate at, which is ultimately what we care about on the staff clinician side of things is, am I being paid enough? If not, is there room available for a raise? So understanding the reimbursement side, or the collection, however you want to call it, whether you're taking cash or insurance, and then all of your expenses together to determine your cost per hour to run the business, and understanding how wide or maybe how narrow that margin is. So now talking specifically about how you get paid, a couple different ways to get paid. We are all pretty familiar with a salary. We get paid a fixed amount per pay period per year, and that can be good and bad, right? It's a guaranteed thing. The pros and cons of salary. Salary is nice because often you are paid even if a patient canceled. You are paid even if the clinic is closed for forces of nature, for a blizzard, for 130-degree temperatures, for whatever might go on. Usually you are still getting paid even if you're not, sometimes even physically at the clinic treating patients. Cons, salary tends to be really abused, right? Salary tends to come with stipulations that it's included, documentation is included in your salary. So if you are given 40 hours of patient care, oftentimes it's expected that you will do your documentation at lunch, before or after work, and that because you are salary, you're basically always on the clock, and that's how it can be justified that you do those things on your personal time outside of patient care hours. So pros and cons to salary. Likewise, hourly, we're pretty familiar with being paid per hour. Again, pros and cons there. Pros, it's usually included in your workday to have documentation. A lot of clinics that pay hourly will block off maybe the first or the last hour of the workday for documentation so that you're still getting paid, because the clinic does not want you to be able to argue that you are paid hourly. And if you are given 8 hours of patient care and you have no time for documentation, if you were to come in early or go home and do documentation, you would then be able to argue for something like overtime. So clinics don't want to run into that. So often there's a benefit, quote unquote benefit, that your documentation will be paid under an hourly guise. The con there is that you're paid hourly. So some clinics I've seen, if a patient cancels, especially a couple patients in a row, if you end up with a big open gap on your schedule, they will ask you to clock out, right? They'll say, hey, you don't have anything going on for the next 90 minutes. You're free to do whatever. Go ahead and clock out. So now you have made time in your workday for work, but you are at work not getting paid to work. So that could be a bit of a bummer. I've seen that happen a lot. I've also seen a lot of micromanagement with hourly positions, where if you're being paid by the hour and you don't currently have a patient, you are expected to be, at least appear to be, working things like cleaning the toilet, things like reading journal articles, whatever it might be for the clinic to justify having you there and being paid. Some of that I can understand. Some of it is really kind of cringy micromanagement that's a little bit insulting to a doctorate level professional. So again, pros and cons for hourly. Now, a lot of you may be getting some sort of bonus based on productivity or patient satisfaction or whatever. Bonuses we have to be careful about. Bonuses seem like a good idea, but when we realize that bonuses come with a very high tax rate, suddenly bonuses don't seem so beneficial. So we need to understand that a true bonus of, hey, I'm giving you a bonus, is taxed at 22%. It is very hard to get that tax money back from the government for a bonus, right? The government is going to say this is above and beyond your normal pay. This is, quote unquote, a luxury. So it's really hard to write off the tax burden of bonus pay and actually get that money back from the government at the end of the year. We also need to realize, because of that, a bonus isn't as much as we think it is. A $500 bonus taxed at 22% is actually only $390. So you might think, if I hit these productivity numbers, I'm told I'll be given a $500 bonus every month. That seems like it's going to add $6,000 to my yearly income, but we forget about the tax, and we recognize at the end of the year, that's actually only going to be about $4,500, and we're going to lose about $1,500 permanently to taxes. So we need to understand that there are pros and cons to bonuses as well. Oh, by the way, who is in charge of holding on and paying that tax is your clinic. So really what you're doing with a bonus is giving your clinic a little short-term loan until the next quarterly tax payment where they have to pay those taxes that they took out of your check for the bonus. So bonuses seem like a good idea on the surface, but in reality, they're really not that good, especially the more you get bonused, the bigger that tax chunk becomes and the less you actually put in your bank account. So keep that in mind. What I'm a big fan of is pay per visit. I think it's a good blend between all the pros and cons of the different ways that you can get paid. Productivity is definitely much more flexible. If you're paid per visit, it's kind of up to the therapist to make their own schedule. It behooves them to really crunch a lot of patients together so they're not coming and going from the clinic, maybe 410s, maybe even something like 312s, however they want to set up their schedule. That's what we use here at Health HQ. I really like it. It leaves all of the scheduling and flexibility up to the individual therapist. We don't have set hours for them. We have a minimum standard productivity we'd like to see them hit, and we pay them per visit. Pros, you have the flexibility. You tend to get paid more per visit than in a salary or hourly model. Cons, a lot like hourly. If you're not actively seeing a patient, you're not getting paid. So it's really on the therapist to be really good. This is a model that works when clinicians are really practicing and chasing excellence, that they don't have a high no-show cancellation rate, that all their patients are showing up. Their arrival rate is very high so that when that patient shows up, they know they're getting paid for that visit. Other benefits to this, it's really kind of the responsibility of the leadership to take care of the therapists as far as if it's a holiday, if there's a force of nature, a blizzard, high temperatures, whatever, and the clinic has to be closed. The con can be that if the clinic is closed, if you can't physically get to the clinic, you don't get to see any of your patients that day, you make no money, right? A lot like an hourly position. So it's really on the leadership here of a clinic that pays this way to know that and to pay those people as if they saw patients that day anyways, so that their income doesn't drop with days like that. So I'm a big fan of this model. I like the responsibility it puts on the therapist to really get patients better so that they keep showing up and the therapist keeps getting paid. I like the flexibility that it offers the therapists. They're free to make their own schedule. They're free to come and go as they please. If they never want to work a Friday, that's fine. If they never want to work an early morning, that's fine, whatever. They're free to make their own schedule and they get paid by visit. Cons, again, if something happens where they can't get to the clinic or the patients can't get to the clinic that's outside of their responsibility, then they don't get paid. So it's kind of on the clinic to make sure that they bump that pay up, that pay period, in order to kind of offset that day or maybe multiple days that the therapist couldn't be there. I love that it puts a lot less pressure on the therapists to kind of overload their schedule with patients because they are going to get paid more per hour. There really is no reason in this model to be seeing 2 patients an hour, 3 patients an hour, 4 patients an hour, more than 4 patients an hour. It allows the flexibility for the schedule, but it also allows therapists to generally see 1 patient an hour one-on-one. So I'm a big fan of the pay per visit model. Now, if we are using this model, how do we know how much we can pay per visit? Well, that comes back to what we've been talking about last week and the beginning of today of what are we bringing in per hour? What are our costs per hour? What is that difference in finding out how much we can pay per visit? You might be surprised about how much is available once you actually sit down and crunch all that math out. So if you're a new clinic owner or thinking about opening your own practice, being really savvy with your accounting will let you know exactly how much you're able to offer therapists per hour, still have money to cover your expenses, and to be able to pay yourself for doing the back end stuff that comes with owning a clinic. Oftentimes, what I see when I consult with clinics is that they have no idea how much they're making. They have no idea how much they're spending. They just know that every month the clinic bank account seems to have a little bit more money in it, and that seems to be a good thing, but it doesn't really let them guide any decisions. And so we kind of see a stalemate in the clinic of PTs not getting raises, of equipment not being bought, because there's really not an idea of how much is being made and how much is being spent, just that there seems to be a little bit more money, but we're not sure what to do with it because we really don't have an idea of what we can afford to spend because we don't have a handle on our accounting. So revisit last week's topic, understand how to figure out how much you're actually getting paid, how much you're bringing in per hour. That will let you guide If you're an insurance-based clinic, what insurances you can continue to accept or not, and then get a handle on your expenses as well. Sit down. What am I paying every month for this? What am I paying every month for power? And start to calculate how much does it actually cost to keep my business open on an hourly basis. And that will really let you get a lot more informed with data and help guide your decisions on what you can afford or not afford to spend when it comes to buying equipment, when it comes to expanding your clinic, and ultimately when it comes to being able to offer more pay to your clinicians and be able to give them raises, and then what to do with or without the idea of giving out bonuses. So I hope this series was helpful. We had some great discussion and questions on last week's episode over on Instagram. So any questions you all might have about this or comments, I'd love to hear them. If you're going to be up in Massachusetts with Jeff this weekend or down in Atlanta with Christina and Alexis, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Hope you all have a wonderful summer weekend. Enjoy Gut Check Thursday. Have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.